What's up guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's episode, we are learning how to do the ollie. And the ollie is one of the most foundational skills in skateboarding. It's the trick that leads into all the other harder tricks like the kickflip, like the tray flip. So if you want to learn how to skateboard, if you want to learn how to clear obstacles and stuff, this is the place to start. And I'm going to try to break it down. I'm going to try to make it as easy for you guys as I possibly can. So let's go ahead and get into it. And the first step to learning how to ollie is learning how to bend down. And I think this is one of the most overlooked parts of the ollie, and it's kind of the prep work, the beginnings of it, and it's just bending your knees and creating pressure with your body, with your weight. And you kind of want to push down and push your weight onto the ball of your front foot, and then to just create pressure. And basically what this pressure will do is that it will create a downward force, and then you will use that downward force to kind of launch the board up into the air. And another way to kind of practice this motion is to practice hippie jumps. And basically it's just little jumps with the board rolling under you, and this will kind of give you the idea of how the spring works or how the bounce works in the ollie. So when you try this, think of it like a spring. Don't kind of just push your weight down, try to bounce your weight down and then pop up, spring it up. So think about it like that, and that's the first part to the ollie. All right, the next part to the ollie is the pop. And with the pop, you kind of want it to be a bounce. You kind of want to pop it with a lot of bounce, and you kind of want to bring your knee up right away. And then another thing that you want to do with the ollie is kind of pop it backwards. A lot of people think it's just a straight downwards pop, but I think when you pop it backwards, it kind of gives you the leverage to have the board come up to your feet a little more. So think backwards and kind of like in a circle, if that makes sense. Another way I like to think about this is if you've ever tried to use a fingerboard or a tech deck, if you want to get the board in the air, you can't just pop the board straight down. You kind of have to give it the leverage of backwards and then forward. And the same physics is kind of the same with actual skateboarding. So just think backwards and forward, and also more bounce when you pop. And yeah. All right, the next part to the ollie is rolling your ankle up the board. And this kind of goes along with the bounce pop that we just talked about. So as you're popping and bouncing the board with your back foot, your front foot is going to roll up the board. You kind of just want to have your laces touch the grip tape, and then use the side of your foot to drag up the board, slide up the board. And I think a lot of people think it's just a slide, but the way I like to think about this is more of like spread your feet apart. So don't try to just slide your foot up the board. Try to actively pop and spread your feet apart at the same time, and hopefully that'll give you a better understanding of how this works. But start from the basics, start from the bottom. Just practice rolling your foot up the board first, and just practice getting comfortable with that motion of just like turning your ankle up the board. And then from there you can practice trying to spread your feet apart more, trying to slide more, and then that will kind of give you the feeling of getting the board off of the ground just a little bit. So practice that a lot and just keep trying, and you'll start to feel it and understand it a lot more as you practice it. So yeah. The next part of learning how to ollie is the jump and the kick. And I put these two parts together because they're kind of done simultaneously. And the first part is the jump. And basically what that means is just bring both of your knees up, bring both of your feet up, especially your back knee, because that is the one that's gonna wanna stay closer to the ground. And then the second part is the kick. And basically what you wanna do is kind of treat it like a ninja kick. Really try to push the board forward, especially if you're moving with your ollie. It's gonna be easy for the board to fall behind you, kind of fall back, and you'll land on your nose. So really try to pop, slide, and kick the board in front of you. Try to keep it in front of you. That way it's easier to stay right on top of it and keep it under you. So those two things go right together, and it does take a bit of practice to get to this point. Sometimes it takes months of training your ollies before you can really understand how to pop, slide, and kick it forward. But just keep practicing, you'll get better at them, and it gets easier. And the last part to learning how to ollie is the landing. And I think this is the easiest part, but it takes a lot of practice. A lot of people think that it's just something that's a quick fix and then you can just start landing all of your ollies. But I think that it's working through all of your failures up until a point to where you can get to landing them every single time. But my tips for learning how to land your ollies is to keep your shoulders straight with the trick the entire time. And what that basically means is from your shoulders down to your feet. So that means your shoulders, hips, and your feet stay aligned with the bolts the entire time, from the point that you squat down all the way to the point where you jump and kick the board forward, and all the way till you're landing. Throughout the entire trick, make sure that you keep your body straight with the board. Don't turn, otherwise your ollies will turn with you. Just keep it straight, keep your body straight. Remember that the board has to be sideways for it to keep rolling, because your wheels can't roll if it's facing straight like you would if you're walking. So keep the board sideways, keep your body sideways, and you'll have no problem. Don't forget to bend your knees and just follow all the way through, and you guys got the landing no problem. But again, it's not easy. It is easy, but it takes lots and lots of practice before it gets there. So you guys got this, don't give up. And yeah, there you have it. There is kind of the basics of how to do an ollie, and from here I recommend you guys just put some things on the ground that you can practice ollieing over. Definitely start small, maybe with like a branch, a stick or something, and then try to ollie over maybe like a board, and just level it up from there, and then you'll be able to get it higher and higher, and you will also be able to learn how to level it out and just feel more comfortable with it, and it'll also stick to your feet a lot more the more that you practice it. So I know at the end of this video you'll want to go out and try it, but it takes practice. So if you don't get it in your first day, don't give up. You guys have to practice it consistently over a long period of time, for multiple days, even months, even years. I've been doing them for years, and that's why mine are as high as they are. So if you guys want yours to look like mine do, then you guys have to practice them as I do. So don't give up, keep doing them, and just keep practicing for as many days as you can, and you guys will get it down. All right, real quick, let's do some common mistakes with ollies, because I know a lot of you guys are still gonna be struggling after this video. So the first common mistake is the rocket ollies. And basically what a rocket ollie is when you can pop an ollie, but you just can't get the back of the board to come up. The tail part just kind of sticks low to the ground, but the front of the board comes up. And basically the way to fix this is to push forward more. Try to do more of like a ninja kick like we talked about earlier, and try to keep the board more forward in front of you. That way it stays under you. And an analogy to think about is it's kind of like a slingshot. So if you want the board to kind of come up with you more, you kind of gotta pop it back. So like when you use a slingshot, you pull it back to kind of give it that spring. So pop back with your skateboard, and then to launch the slingshot, you let go and you let it spring forward. So same thing with your skateboard, you kind of pop it back, but you slide your foot, you kick it forward. So that kind of gives it the leverage to go back but shoot forward and just stay right under you. So try to think about it like that. Of course, it takes lots and lots of practice to get a real understanding of it, but hopefully that analogy will help you guys out. The next common mistake is having your ollies turn, and if your ollies are turning, then it's probably because you're either turning, or when you're sliding your feet up the board, it's making the board turn somehow, maybe just by the way that you're sliding your feet up the board. So my recommendation to fixing this is, of course, keeping your body straight, keeping your body parallel with the board the entire time, like we talked about earlier. But also, when you're doing and popping the ollie, make sure you're especially keeping your feet straight, and when you pop the board and when you slide your foot up the board, that it's in a straight line. So you pop back straight, and then you also slide your foot up straight. That way the board has no room to turn, and that way you can just stay straight with it and stay right on top of it. But it does take practice. Again, everything will always take practice, but you guys will get it down as long as you just don't give up with it. So all right, and the last common mistake is the board is always falling behind you, or you keep landing on the nose of the board. And the way to fix this is to just push the board more forward in front of you. Try to keep the board more forward with you. That way it's easier for you to stay right on top of it. This problem is especially common if you're trying to learn how to do ollies while moving. And because you're riding or because you're rolling with the board has a tendency to want to go backwards or fall behind you, especially if you pop it backwards. So it's gonna want to land over here. But if you slide your foot up the board and if you kick it forward in front of you, then you'll have a better time staying on top of it, keeping it right under you. So try to think of it like that. Pop it backwards, but push it forward in front of you, and you guys will stay right on top of it. But of course, keep your shoulders straight. We talked about it already. You guys already know how it goes, and yeah. There you have it. There is how to do an ollie, even some common mistakes. I hope that I broke it down well enough for you guys to understand, and I hope some of the clips that I got for you guys to see how to do it helps you guys understand it. And this is one of those tricks that takes practice. Don't expect to be able to learn this in just a week, a month. I mean, you might be able to get it down, but if you want it consistent and if you want it really, really good over things, you're gonna have to practice this. You're gonna have to do it a lot every day, and you're gonna have to practice it over things and challenge yourself to the next level every single time. So don't give up. Make sure you guys do this a lot, especially if you want to transition it into kick flips and tray flips and all these other harder things. So Don't give up, you guys got it. And yeah, don't forget to drop me a like if you guys found some value from this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Till next time, peace out.